Welcome back, everybody. We are on the second part of our Called the Spot on the Card, number 18 edition. If you count the fact that we're just doing these in groups, this is the latter half of the group. We're talking 2019 Money in the Bank participants. So we talked to women in the first part. Go back and check out that YouTube video if you're on that, or obviously if you're on iTunes and Stitcher, then you just heard that. But now we're moving on to the men's competitors, and those men are, in alphabetical order, Ali, Andrade, Baron Corbin, Braun Strowman, Drew McIntyre, Finn Balor, Randy Orton, and Ricochet. So if you did not check out the women's part, that explains how the Call the Spot works. Do that. I'm not going to break that whole thing down again, do all that all over again. So we're just going to jump right into this here. And we're going to start bottom to top, same as we always do here. And I'm wondering if we're going to have the same type of thing when it came to the women. We all agreed on a couple, like the top and the bottom at the very least. We might not on this one, but I went with Ali for Erased. And it's sad to do that because I like Ali quite a bit. I really want him to be like a mid-card champion this year. But sadly, if you're looking at the people that are on this list, he's the one who's accomplished the least. So if you were to remove him from the history books, you are doing the least disruptive thing. That's my rationality.
That's usually my rationality, to go along the lines of choose someone who's actually had the least amount of impact, because then if they're away from history, it doesn't change too much. But we have a real opportunity here.
You're going Baron Corbin.
To save WWE. So yes, of course I chose Baron Corbin.
I would have been so surprised if you would have been like Drew McIntyre. Like, what the...
No, I can't let that body go to waste. But it's more along the lines of, you get rid of Baron Corbin, you improve the past few years of WWE just by his mere absence. I know we do shit on him. Well, I do. Tony likes him. But it's the case of along the lines of the way that they booked him. He's so overexposed. He's a detriment on any segment he's involved in now. Because, he's okay with his promos, and he's not terrible in the ring. But it's just the aura that surrounds him now. Just a sense of, when a Baron Corbin segment is on, my inclination is to fast forward. So I'm not going to give it a chance, because he's wasted all his chances. And the fact that they keep pushing him to such a high level, the fact that he is going to be in this Money in the Bank match, is just painful to me.
You're going to hate that he's my main eventer.
Uh-huh.
No, I'm just kidding. He isn't.
Who do you got either way?
Who do you got erased, Rob?
Listen, I like Baron Corbin, and I still erased him from history because I'm over it. Like Callum said, this is a good chance to just save the progression of the current WWE scene. I don't know why they like corporate casual Baron Corbin. I'm very much over it, and I don't even want him in this match.
See, I will argue this point though. I erased Ali from history because he was the least disruptive, and I felt like if I took anybody else out, then I ruined some certain things. And I also, this sounds kind of like a mercy kill almost. I didn't want to put Ali in like the jobber spot. And I feel like I would have had to. Like if you swap, I'll just spoil it. Baron Corbin's my jobber. If you swap them around, I feel like that kind of does a disservice to Ali, and I almost would rather him not be there and jobbing than for that to be the case. You know what I mean?
I do get that argument, but you're being very altruistic in that regards, whereas I'm being completely selfish in the sense of Baron Corbin has utterly ruined my experience of watching any sort of WWE programming. So if he's on it, then I suffer. So if Ali has to job out a few times for the next couple of years, whatever, then that's a small price to pay for Baron Corbin just never having existed.
Let me just say, I can already tell we have very different lists.
Or just along the lines of like, if you look at like Corbin stuff, if you erase Corbin from history, you might have a different winner of that Money in the Bank match. Like Shaq could have won the money, not the money back, the Andre Giant Battle Royal. You could have Shaq win it, which would at least been funny. You would have had one Money in the Bank ladder match, which wouldn't have gone to waste. You would have had, you wouldn't have had him as the GM. You would have had someone else as GM of Raw for a while. Just along those lines of like, there's nothing that he's done which is an overarching positive.
He brought back the word constable. That's positive.
He's a constable. If you switch the O and a U.
So yeah, we're gonna have some very different lists here, and I think that another reason why is because my released is Finn Balor.
I'm in agreement with you.
Wow. Okay. Are you in the same boat as let him go to AEW and be a top guy?
No, it's more along the lines of I like him the least out of all the other people that's left, except the Hall of Fame one, which we all know who it is, so we don't need to even really suggest it too much. And I'm putting him there so he retires.
Braun Strowman.
But I'm putting him there because besides the top and the bottom, he's the one that I'm least connected with, the one that would, like you say, would do the best outside of WWE, and it's just like he's been there. Even though he's only been there a few years, it still feels like it's been too long.
And I kind of agree with you on that whole connection point too, because I look at, I put Ali for erased, but I kind of enjoy Ali right now a little bit more than Finn Balor. I'm definitely more invested in Andrade more, even though I'm in the minority here. I enjoy Baron Corbin more than I enjoy Finn Balor as far as like character work. Braun Strowman, of course, I like better because I always tout Braun Strowman. McIntyre's got more of an upside. Randy Orton, of course, and Ricochet. Like, everybody has something that they bring to the table a little bit better than Finn Balor to me. And Balor is very trustworthy to have good matches, and he could be more. But the Finn Balor that we keep getting in WWE, I feel like there's something missing. I hate the demon thing. I think it's so dumb. I've ragged on that, to no end. And I feel like that's where, if he were to go to AEW, and he would just be Prince Devitt or Fergal Devitt or maybe some other kind of name or something like that, I feel like he could fit in really well there and be one of their main event players. So that's, again, kind of a little bit of like the Ember Moon scenario that I had going on. But Rob, you don't have Finn Balor in the release. Who do you have?
And listen, I agree with you in the sense that maybe everybody in this list brings something better to the table than Finn Balor does. But I'm also gonna take what Callum said. I connect with everybody on this list just a little bit more than I do with Braun Strowman. When I released Braun Strowman.
I'm actually, I'll obviously let you go on after this, but it was actually a toss-up for me between Finn Balor and Braun Strowman.
Boo.
Listen, I'm over Braun Strowman. They had a very small window with him last year, and they squandered it, and I'm over Braun Strowman. I believe that Braun Strowman is now around to be the topsy-turvy. He can be a babyface. He can be a heel, just like they do with the Big Show. I don't want to see him, so I released him. Go to the movies or something.
Yeah, that's sort of similar logic that I had. I think they've just completely wasted him, and the only redeeming quality that he has at the moment is the fact that he's big. And it's interesting because if whichever one I didn't release, I was going to push highly because of their stature and their reputation, but I ended up going with Balor just along the lines of he's probably going to be more of a success on the independent circuit, whereas Braun, if he was to be released from WWE, would have to make do of being like a wardrobe or something. And it's more along the lines of with Balor. There's nothing that I see with Balor that he does better than anybody else in the roster.
Yeah.
I don't
He
see that
certainly
special
doesn't have a better character than anybody. He's great in the ring when he's especially put up with somebody who's really good. Like, if like Balor and Styles are going to have a match, it's going to be good. But then again, Styles can have better matches with people. Or Daniel Bryan could potentially, or Ricochet could, or, like, if you were to say to me, who's your go-to guy for in-ring performances, Balor's up there, but at the same time, he's not my top 5 or something.
That's fair. But again, I do not care about Braun Strowman anymore. So I'd much rather see him leave.
So let's move on to Jobber, and I spoiled mine already, so I'll just say it. Baron Corbin is my Jobber. He gets heat, so he can get beaten up. It's my rationality. Send him out there, have a babyface, humiliate him.
Callum, go first.
No. I'm joking.
Okay, well, then in that case, Ricochet is my jobber.
Boo.
Right now,
I'm really depressed about your list.
Yeah.
Sorry. Right now, I ranked the guys one by one, and I knew who I wanted at the bottom and the one name I wanted at the top, and Ricochet just fell into the jobber position because he's good, but I don't see him thriving on the main roster. Let me put it that way. Like, if this was an NXT ranking, he'd be in the main event. But I don't see him thriving on the main roster.
Ali is my jobber.
And that's why I didn't put him in that. I let him go from history.
Yeah, but I'm like selfish, as I said earlier. Baron Corbin must die. But it's just a case of Ali is very, very good in the ring, and he can make a lot of giants like Lars Sullivan and Braun Strowman and Kevin Owens look dominant in defeat. And I just think he's got less charisma than Ricochet. Even though he's got a different kind of charisma. Ricochet has a charisma where you can kind of believe that he can win a lot of matches and show a lot of ability. He has a cockiness about him, a cocksure nature, whereas Ali is very likable, very down to earth, very humble in a way. So you feel a bit more sympathy with Ali, which makes him a good jobber, whereas you feel more of a, wow, look how cool Ricochet is. If that makes any sense whatsoever.
Yeah, that makes sense, and that's kind of why I put him in the lower mid card. I looked at the 4 people that I had left, which were in alphabetical order: Andrade, Braun Strowman, Drew McIntyre, and Randy Orton, and Ricochet. And I was like, you know what? I can't put Ricochet above any of the other ones except for the person I obviously put in mid card. And given the option, I feel like this is a little bit of a cheat answer, but I mean, fuck it, it's my thing, so whatever. He hasn't established himself yet. Like, he has not won anything other than the North American Championship, which was the mid-card of the developmental territory. So, moving on to the main roster, he was a part of 3 tag team championship title matches in 1 week. And he didn't even win those. He's competing for the Money in the Bank, and it would be awesome if he won the Money in the Bank, just because it would be like, whoa, that's really cool. Big fan of Ricochet. But for right now, he can be in that lower mid-card spot and start working his way up. It's my rationality behind that.
And I felt those exact words, but with Mustafa Ali. Because I really like him. There's something about him that connects. He seems very personable, and I think he can go far the same way that, guys like Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio and cruiserweights 20 years ago went far. I think he has that ability.
Can he go far, or can he go hard?
No, that's the Revival.
Isn't that what his lyrics are too? I'ma go hard, I'ma go hard.
Oh yeah, hey. So yeah, he's gonna go far and he's gonna go hard.
I went with Ricochet as well. A lot of similar reasons to Tony. He's less established. He's only just started out on the main roster, so he can afford to take a few hits before they decide to actually push him towards a higher level going forward. He can obviously have great matches with anyone, so it's not too much of an issue on that side of things. Just more along the lines of has a bit more of a cool factor and an edge to him over Ali. And while I think Ricochet is a star that could be on the rise, I already think that even though he only came up to the main roster from 205 Live at the turn of the year, I think Ali's star has already started to plateau.
Can we agree that given their movesets and the way they're positioned right now, they're almost like Raw has Ricochet, SmackDown has Ali, but they're interchangeable?
Kind of. I think
They're fairly
Ricochet's got
interchangeable.
momentum.
Yeah, he's I think he's got more about him going forward.
He lost to Mr. Mustachio, and then he was gifted with the spot in this ladder match just because he's going to jump off of stuff.
Well, Ali lost against Finn Balor, and yeah, and I can't remember the last time he won a match, and yet he's in this as well.
Yeah, because he's going to jump off of stuff.
Yeah, they're both just going to jump off stuff,
and it's going to be glorious.
It is.
And Robert Roode's not in the match.
Shame.
So we have 4 spots left, and we have 3 people that have not been mentioned yet. Andrade, Drew McIntyre, and Randy Orton. And then we've got the wild card, which is we got a little bit of Braun Strowman on the table, and I don't remember who the other person was that hasn't been said yet. Finn Balor. So we might be lining up a little bit on some ways here. I know that we're lining up on one of them. My mid-carder, though, is Andrade. The notes that I had written down was, give him the belt, the mid-card belt. I think he's a perfect spot right now that he could win the United States or the Intercontinental Championship and do wonders with it. And that's not necessarily like, the upper mid-card spot could take that spot, or a main eventer could be the champion. I mean, they play around with that a lot, and I kind of looked at that as like Andrade being the mid-card champion or something is, if you put him in the mid-card and you equate the mid-card to like a Titus O'Neil type, then Andrade is better than that. But if you make it the mid-card as being, you're the top of the second level, that's where Andrade is.
Well, let me tell you, given the belt, the mid-card belt, my guy already has the mid-card belt. I put Finn Balor square in the mid-card, and I think he's great, but he's a great Intercontinental Champion and doesn't need to go too much further than that right now. So I like where he is.
Let me just switch this around a little bit. Since we have Andrade and Finn Balor in that spot, who would you be more comfortable being WWE champion first? I would want Finn Balor to be it more than Andrade, oddly enough, even though I have Andrade ranked higher.
I think that's fair. I would want Finn Balor to be the WWE champion first as well. But that's because Andrade still has more to prove, whereas I think Finn Balor came in with so much hype from NXT, and they've managed to kind of keep that aura, even though they don't always book him in the best way.
All right, so Callum, you're mid-carders. Are you going on the Andrade kind of range, or are you maybe putting Braun Strowman there?
I'm putting on Andrade there.
Okay.
Just along the lines of, the fact that that's sort of the level that he should be aiming at the moment. This probably wouldn't be opinion shared by everyone, but I think he's the best wrestler out of everyone on that list. Just in terms of just overall ability, like he does the high flying stuff. He can do just all the technical side of things. He's also strong enough that he can do a lot of power moves as well. So I think if you're basically putting them all together and saying I need to have a 5-star match with one of these people, I'd go with Andrade every time. And so I think the mid-card, if you want to consider it as like the workhorse division, is perfect for him. And it can be a platform for him to be elevated upwards, but he needs to be like contesting regularly either the Intercontinental or United States Championship. At least at this point, and then eventually go up to the main event afterwards.
So let me see if I've got my crystal ball working correctly here. I'm going to try to guess the final 3 for you guys again. Rob, I'm thinking you got upper mid-card as Andrade. main eventer is Drew McIntyre, and Hall of Famer is Randy Orton.
Absolutely.
And Callum, I'm thinking you're going upper mid card is Strowman. Main eventer is Drew McIntyre, and Hall of Famer is Randy Orton.
Predictability.
Well, let's be fair here. I mean, we know that Randy's in the Hall of Fame, and McIntyre is the most likely candidate for main event.
Well,
so
Tony
you're just guessing that final spot.
Well, Tony's one is McIntyre, Strowman, and then Orton.
Yep, Strowman's my main eventer.
Yeah, exactly. So,
because
I just want to show I've got a crystal ball as well.
Yeah.
I don't want you to just have ownership over it.
There's certainly an incredible argument for having Drew McIntyre be the main eventer, and I will even go as far as to say I'm potentially taking the wrong pick by saying Braun Strowman over him, but I go with Strowman over him because I look at the two and I start comparing what I want my main eventer to be, and there's one thing that fell off for McIntyre for me.
Accent.
No, not the accent, obviously. Not obviously. Incidentally, that's the word I was going for. I do think the accent's a little bit weird sometimes, but it's not like annoying like with like the Iconics where it's supposed to be, you know?
Oh, I get it, Tony. He's too good looking.
Clearly.
I think McIntyre as a heel is missing something. And Strowman as a babyface, I feel like he's more well-rounded of like, you can present to me Braun Strowman and I get it. And if you present McIntyre to me right now, I'm like, but what is making it to where he's not already champion? And that's like, there's doubt in McIntyre for me that just, it's making me throw this all for a loop. Like, he has the look. Clearly he does. He's tall, he's muscular, good looking. He knows what he's doing in the ring, even though I fucking hate his finisher. I do not think that that's a good move for him. Why is he doing a big boot that he lands on his back from? It's so stupid. That needs to be fixed, for sure. But there's just something missing. And I feel like with Braun Strowman, he goes out there, he's a big hulking brute who is like kind of Lenny from Of Mice and Men, Mice and Men a little bit. And I like it. Like, it's just sort of, yeah, I'm going to fucking kick your ass. And it's like, yeah, go kick his ass. You know, like, it's simple and it's dumb. And I don't know. It's kind of like Ultimate Warrior-ish or Hulk Hogan-ish. Like, I just, suspension of disbelief, I guess, maybe. I don't know. Like, what's a good way to put that? Like, Braun Strowman, I feel, is a complete entity. And McIntyre is still missing something. So that's why I put him in the upper mid card. But by all means, you guys have him in the main eventer, and I totally understand that.
Listen, the only thing Drew McIntyre is missing is a belt because they haven't given it to him yet.
He needs to beat Seth Rollins. Like, it needs to happen.
He is the complete package. He is what you want your main event heel to be. And I think, and I know this isn't the predictions podcast, but he's got to be the guy walking out with that briefcase. Now, on the other end of that, I obviously would put the second guy I would think has the best chance of winning in my upper mid card, and that's Andrade. Because Andrade would also make a tremendous Mr. Money in the Bank, and he's got a lot to offer in terms of charisma, and he's got Zelina by his side, so I think that makes him a better commodity than somebody like a Finn Balor right now, you know, on May 1st, 2019. So that's why I went with those two in the order that I did, and I'm guessing we'll talk about Randy in a minute. Cal?
Well, obviously, if I'm going to keep Braun Strowman, he's got to be in a prominent position. But I put him in the upper mid card because he's already like flirting in the Big Show territory, which is essentially you're the giant that can occasionally be used for comic relief, occasionally be thrown into some sort of feud where you just beat up a couple of jobbers, and you can occasionally be world champion. It's really like a really wide spectrum. But I wouldn't put a young Big Show anywhere lower than an upper mid-carder because, let's face it, look at the size of him. He's not going to lose many matches, and when he does lose matches, they should mean something. So,
Have you followed the Big Show's career?
well, they really screwed him up. But again, I'm living in a fantasy world where I want Braun Strowman to be more Andre the Giant than the Big Show.
You want to learn from the lessons of the Big Show failure.
Yes, exactly. It's just a case of like Andre the Giant was very rarely, if ever, the main champion of a promotion, but he was their biggest attraction because he won a lot of matches and was just a big star. You can do the same thing with Braun Strowman, although you probably should give him the belt every now and again, just because he's a big guy who rarely loses. He's going to get title opportunities. But with Drew McIntyre, it's more of a case of he's a far better wrestler than Braun Strowman. He's almost the same size as Braun Strowman, obviously not in terms of girth, but in terms of just height. He's obviously got a great look. He's got very good promo skills. He's proven that he can be a grizzled, tough, no-nonsense babyface and despicable, like vicious, sadistic heel. So he covers both bases there. So whichever side of the coin you want to put him at, he can play that role well. He's well-travelled. He's a veteran already. He's knows all the ins and outs of the wrestling business, and he's got very good psychology. There's really no downside to Drew McIntyre other than the fact that for some reason they don't want to give him the main title. And that's because they have other favourites at the moment that they want to push forward. But basically, at a moment's notice, you can push Drew McIntyre and get him set up for the main event, which I think is the reason why he should be in that position.
And that brings us all down to the same pick for Hall of Famer, which is Randy Orton, because you can't justify anything other than that. It has to be Randy Orton.
Damn right it does.
Yeah, it's just nobody on this list has accomplished as much as Randy Orton, and there's literally no argument against that point. He factually has the advantage.
I mean, I so wish that I could, just because it's Randy Orton, and there's very few other people that I would do that with. But Randy Orton is like one of the rare exceptions that I would forego everything to do with the Hall of Fame stuff. The fact that he is if there's anybody else that could even potentially be guaranteed Hall of Famer outside of Orton in this list of people, I would have immediately released Randy Orton because I at least have an argument with someone else. But the fact that there's every single other person is a commodity that may or may not be in the Hall of Fame eventually based on how their career goes forward, whereas Randy Orton is a dead certainty. But I make the Hall of Fame proclamation with the proviso that he must immediately retire. He can no longer compete in WWE. He cannot even come in for the odd Saudi Arabia show. I will never have to endure another 3-minute chinlock segment. Actually, I'll never have to do it again, ever, because Orton will be in the Hall of Fame retired and Baron Corbin won't have even existed. So I never have to see another chinlock ever again.
Listen, unlike Callum, I thoroughly enjoy Randy Orton, and there's almost nobody on the roster that has the kind of credentials that he has. So absolutely he's in the Hall of Fame, and it's going to be a sad day for fans my age when he does go in the Hall of Fame and retires.
No.
Because it's a huge part of our, formative years.
Unfortunately.
And he's got the best finisher, and there's going to be 7 fantastic RKOs at this pay-per-view, and Randy deserves it, and give Drew McIntyre the belt. If not him, Andrade, and fuck Baron Corbin.
I mean, this is kind of a marry fuck kill, but I'm not picking that option of fucking Baron Corbin. Yeah, so let's break our list down again, bottom to top. I went with erasing Ali, unfortunately, sad face. Releasing Finn Balor for greener pastures than AEW. Jobbing out Baron Corbin. Ricochet in the lower mid-card to work his way up. Andrade, because he has reached that point where he should be getting that mid-card belt. Drew McIntyre in the upper mid-card until he figures out that one little missing thing and upsets the main eventer, Braun Strowman, and then Randy Orton in the Hall of Fame.
I had Baron Corbin erased from history because I'm not a monster like Tony, and I don't want to get rid of the soul of 205 Live and erase 205 Live. I released
Soul for
Braun
a soul.
Strowman. I released Braun Strowman because he bores me. Ricochet is my jobber, unfortunately. That is a sad face. Lower mid-card Ali, mid-card Finn Balor, upper mid-card Andrade, main event Drew McIntyre, give him the belt, and Hall of Fame Randy Orton. He's already had all the belts.
I am doing the world a favour and getting rid of Baron Corbin from history. I am setting Finn Balor free to pursue pastures outside of WWE. Making Ali a very fun jobber. Putting Ricochet in the lower mid card. Giving Andrade the Intercontinental Championship. Letting Braun Strowman being a better version of the Big Show. Giving Drew McIntyre the main belt because, of course, it's Drew McIntyre. Give him the belt, and putting Randy Orton in the Hall of Fame, so I never have to see him work a match ever again.
Well, as I mentioned in the first part, for the women's section, drop your comments below, everybody, and tell us what you think of our lists and what your lists are. Maybe you're all over the place. Maybe you got Finn Balor as the Hall of Famer and Andrade being erased, or I don't know, whatever the case may be. And yeah, I think that's it for the Call the Spot. So before we say goodbye to you all, we're just going to give you some plugs here and let you know where else we got going on. Obviously, if you have not subscribed on the YouTube channel to Smark Out Moment, go ahead and do that and ring that little bell for the notifications. But if you are on iTunes and Stitcher, then that's a different kind of thing. Just leave us a review or a star rating or whatever different things these different platforms have. I don't even know exactly how many platforms that we're on. And if you are on Twitter or you are on Facebook, then follow us there. They're both at Smark Out Moment. We've got the Redbubble and TeePublic shops that you can pick up merchandise for if you want to get like a sticker or I don't know. I think they have like beach bags now are available in TeePublic. They add new products all the time and I lose track of them, but it's mostly t-shirt related. So hey, pick up a Smark Out Moment t-shirt. But you can do the same with Fanboys Anonymous and A Mango Tees. There is the Patreon for both Fanboys and for Smark Out Moment. So if you want to, toss the buck our way or $50,000 or something like that, then that'd be awesome.
Hey, I like that idea.
Yeah, I don't want to get anybody to bankrupt themselves, but money's awesome and money helps, and that's why we keep doing what we're doing. So if you want to help us keep the lights on, then even a buck can go a long way, especially if everybody chips in a little bit. Shout out to all the people that are a part of that, particularly Guest 5. I think he is the highest ranked right now. And another way that you guys can support us is just by liking this video or by visiting the website and sharing us and kind of tossing the word out to your friends and kind of sharing all the information like that. So smarkoutmoment.com is where you're going to find everything, including the non-podcast side of things like Battle of the Brands and the Power Rankings and Women's Wrestling Weekly and all the other kind of things, Triple Threat, of course, and pay-per-view coverage and all that stuff. That's all on smarkoutmoment.com. I've got some other stuff on eWrestling News and Bleacher Report that you will see here and there posted, and you can kind of figure that out the most by going to smarkoutmoment.com and seeing the little foreign object section, or just following my Facebook and Twitter. Fanboysanonymous.com is where I take care of the geek culture side of things, so if you want to know what I think of Avengers Endgame, I'm not going to spoil anything here, but there is a review up on that, and I have tons of articles that I want to write, and I just don't have the time, but I hope that I can get around to doing things like how would I end the Marvel Universe? Different things like that. That's a series I actually want to do. There's Patreon for fanboys, so if you want to motivate me to take the time out of my lack of sleep schedule to do those kind of things, then toss a buck that way. And subscribe on Facebook and Twitter, and subscribe to the YouTube channel and all that stuff on Fanboys. I think that's it that I've got. I don't think that there's anything else that I haven't mentioned yet, but if there is, you guys should know by now. You're pretty much the regulars. So thanks for doing that, everybody. I'm going to pass this around. The baton is over to you, Callum.
Well, you can find me on Twitter at Wigmeister14. In terms of the weeklies for this week, then you should check out the Power Rankings and check out Women's Wrestling Weekly from the previous 2 weeks because I wrote those, and also going forward because Gabby does a great job with those. And also, you have 2001 Wrestling Odyssey, which we just did our April edition that just dropped earlier this week. So go back and check that one, as well as the January, February, March, and WrestleMania X7 special edition. The May one will be coming up a lot later in this month, when I have the time to research and get all the formatting together. You know how podcasts work. And then I'll pass it over to Rob.
All right, and you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DudeFelice. You can check out eWrestling News, The Ring Report, TimekillerApparel.com, which is my clothing brand, the WrestleZone Daily, which I'm about to literally go record as soon as I get off this wonderful recording, May 16th, which I believe is a Thursday, so not 2 weeks from tomorrow, we will be doing the Yummy in the Bank ladder match, where if you followed in January with Fast Food Royal Rumble, we're doing the same thing, but this time it's fast food mascots attempting to grab the briefcase, and it'll be very fun, and we're looking to put out merch, and the proceeds will go to a charity that fights hunger. So, just doing a lot of good deeds around the internet world, and that is it for me.
Alrighty, everybody, that's going to be it for this Call the Spot. Thank you for listening to this. We will see you next time. This has been another Smark Out moment, and we're being counted out.